Alright, cool. So we got old OBS working here. Alright, so this is a little V30 comparison video that I'm going to do with some of my impulse responses that I made. And I'm making this for my buddy Brenton. Because the topic kind of came up that he had some 2007 V30s in his 212-115 Randall cab. And was not a huge fan of them, so I wanted to kind of demonstrate how dark they actually get when they're made from earlier years, because I know that that brightness can be obnoxious in the Vintage 30. So here's what we're working with. So for amps, I'm using Nom Universal, which loads neural amp modeler captures, and I'm using captures of my Peavey Ultra Plus 120 that I made on red mode, I think medium resonance, with the ultra gain button engaged, because it says fucking ultra gain, so obviously that's got to be turned on. We're not using any post-processing here because I unfortunately lost my subscription to Plugin Alliance and therefore lost access to all of my cool post-processing plugins. So no studio magic to worry about here. So I've got a bunch of instances of NADIR by Ignite, and they're going to pop up as these annoying floating windows because I'm running a 64-bit system and they don't like that. Anyway, so I kind of have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got 7 different cabs here that I made impulse responses of that all have vintage 30s from various years. And yeah, part of the difference you'll hear is going to be in the cabs they're in, but I'll demonstrate by both having the same cab from the same manufacturer with 2 different V30s in it, and by having the same set of V30s in a 4x12 and a 2x12, that it doesn't make as big of a difference in this case as you'd think. So what do we got? So first, Brenton, this is that crank cab with the V30s that I was talking about. These are 2006 Chinese vintage 30s, and I thought they sounded pretty fucking gross in this cab. So I immediately took them out when I bought this cab. Listening back, I don't think they're quite as bad as I thought, as I felt like they were, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan. But these are probably the worst as far as the high end goes. And then this cab is a Peavey XXX cab that I have these, why does that say Elite 100? That was not supposed to be an Elite 100. That was supposed to be a Relic 30. But that's what these are. These are Relic 30s that, I guess I don't have the 7B version of that. That's fine. We'll just do this. These are Relic 30s, which are basically rebranded vintage 30s. These are from 2006 as well, but they're UK made. So let me test that real quick. Ah, fuck it. We'll hear it. And then this cab right here, this is my Randall RA412 from 2005 that has 2005 Chinese vintage 30s. Yeah. And then right here, we've got another Randall XL cab from the year 2000 that has a 2000. Oh, actually, for this set of impulse responses, it's not the original 2000 V30s. It is a set of 2001 Mesa Vintage 30s. And they're 8 ohm. All the rest so far have been 16 ohm. And this, oh, come on now. Show my UI. This one right here, this is going to be 2x12 that my buddy actually made. And this is the same set of 2001 Mesa Vintage 30s. Now right here, we've got a set of 97 and 98 Vintage 30s. And I think these are the darkest ones. And then right here, I've got a Mesa, one of those old school Mark Series Mesa cabs with the metal grill. Full back, by the way. I was lucky enough to get one that's full back instead of half back like they usually are. I mean, the V30 are on the bottom anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But this one will sound a little bit different because of the cab. This is a kind of weird shaped cab. They're way, as far as the width and the height, they're way smaller than a normal 4x12. But they're also 16 inches deep rather than your standard 14, so that's kind of weird. And it sounds kind of weird, but yeah, check it out. So I got these hooked up in a little mix context here of a compilation of riffs and drum beats that I'm working on here. What do they call those things? Whatever. Anyhow, we're going to start at the top, I guess, with this crank cab and work our way down. So here we go. I already hate it. Okay, it is as bad as I remembered. Anyway, let me throw the drums in there for context. Okay, moving on. Yeah, I don't like those at all. So this is the Peavey cab with the 2006 UK-made Relic 30s. So those are a little bit better for me, but they still have a little bit of that post 2005, post 2003, whatever kind of airiness, open airiness to the upper mids. Not as bad though. I don't know if it's because they're UK made or they're just a cool run. From what I heard, those are based off of the V30 MF from the Mode 4 cabinets. So those are some pretty sought after vintage 30s. So it could just be the run. And next we have the two Randall XL cabs. So we'll start with the Chinese. These are the main ones I was trying to compare here. The other ones I just remembered I had, plus the 97. So let's start with the 2005 Chinese vintage 30s and the Randall XL cab, and then we'll compare those to the 2001 Mesa vintage 30s, and you'll see what I mean. These are technically two different cabs, but they're the same. They're both Randall XL cabinets. One is from a different year where they were made slightly different, but the only real difference that I can tell is that on the 2001, the older one, the baffle sits back a little farther, and you can basically compensate for that with mic position, so that's no biggie. But here's the Chinese one right here. And here is the one with the 2001 Mesa Vintage 30s, which are of course made in the UK. Let's go back and forth on those a couple times just so you can really tell. Like, the main difference here is that the speakers are from different years, basically. I mean, so the Chinese ones are 16 ohms and the Mesa ones are 8 ohms, and yeah, they're Mesa Vintage 30s, but in my experience, this cab actually came with a set of 16 ohm Vintage 30s from the year 2000, which obviously were not Mesa spec, and they sound pretty damn similar to these Mesa ones. So really the difference is like the year of production that you're hearing here. So let's go back and forth on those a couple times. Here's the UK. And here's the Chinese again. And then we'll go back to the UK. Yeah, so you'll notice those 2000 ones, they're a lot more mid-forward, and the top end is much smoother. Also, just for reference here, I didn't use the same mic position for all these because I have like 100 impulse responses of all these cabs. I kind of just tried to use the ones that sounded the most similar. So some of these I'm even compensating for the brightness or darkness by using brighter or darker mic positions, and you can kind of still tell the difference. But yeah, so here's those same speakers in a 2x12. So first, here's the 4x12, the Randall 4x12 with the 2001 Mesa Vintage 30s. And then here is those same Vintage 30s in a maple 2x12 that my buddy made for me. Not Not as much difference as you would think. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot more different than that. We're talking a 4x12 slant and a 2x12 straight made out of different woods with different sort of dimensions and everything. So those are pretty similar sounding in the same cab. So that pretty much tells you that what you're hearing here is, for the most part, the difference in speakers. Although the Mesa cab sounds a little bit wonky, to be honest, in my opinion. And the Krank cabs do definitely have their own flavor. But yeah, so 2x12. Four by 12 versus 4x12 with Chinese 2005 vintage 30s. See, now you can really hear the difference when you see how similar these speakers sound in different cabs, and then you go back and listen to the Chinese. Now, here are the 97 and 98 vintage 30s, or, well, it's one of the two. I can't remember which one it was. It's either a 97 or a 98. And this is in a different 2x12. This is a Carvin 2x12. So really fucking loud. Oh, hold on, because I'm double IRing. Hold on, there we go. Okay, so let's go back for reference, since I just ruined it by having two IR loaders on at the same time. We're going to listen to those 2001 Mesa Vintage 30s in the 212. Then we'll go to the 97 Vintage 30s in a different 212. Ready? Go. Okay, now here are the 97. Different cab, in all fairness. This is a 2x12 slant, but here you go. And then here's the Mesa cab. It's a bit different, and these are 94 vintage 30s. And this is back before there was a difference between Mesa vintage 30s and regular. They were all technically Mesa spec vintage 30s. So 94 Mesa vintage 30s from a Mesa cab. Here you go. Yeah. So that you can kind of hear, man. The cab just sounds like it's weird shaped, and it is. But it works though. In a mix, it works pretty fucking well. I like that cab. I better like it. It was expensive. Anyway, so here's the 97 again, because I think that the 94 and the 97 are definitely the two darkest. I'm almost inclined to say the 97 are a bit darker, but I always thought that the 94 were darker. But now that I'm comparing them back to back, it's hard to say, because the 94 do have that kind of a bit of a forward upper mid thing going on. So here's the 97 again. So, Brenton, I kind of feel like you would like the 97, because I know you said you like them dark, and if that's what you're going for, that's pretty dark right there. Now let me take the drums out, and we'll go through them one at a time, because you can hear the differences better without the drums. Sorry, I don't have any bass here. Bass is stupid. Actually, no, I just don't have a bass right here to record with, but yeah. Bass is not stupid, by the way. That was a mean joke. But first, real quick, before we do that, let's just go back and forth between the 97 and the crank cab and hear just how different these vintage 30s can really sound, because I think that's pretty much at the two ends of the spectrum here. So. And by the way, I use some pretty damn dark mic positions for that crank cab. If I were to use similar ones that I'm using for the rest of them, it would be crazy. It would be nuts. But also, let's just hear the 97 versus the 2005 for reference, and then we'll go through it without the drums. Yeah, so the differences between speakers from different years are definitely noticeable. So here's without the drums. We'll start from the top, I guess. Here's the crank cab. And this is with a 57 and a 7B. So you can see we're down here in the 20s. If I were to really do mic position 3 or something, you'll see how obnoxious it can be. And then compare that to the 97s. I keep fucking doing that with the double IRs. Alright, here's the crank. I mean, I guess that sound has its place, but it's just obnoxious to me in the high end, man. I feel like that's what people are hearing when they say they don't like V30s because of the fizzy high end. Because in my experience, V30s don't usually have that fizzy of a high end, but I kind of tend to use older ones, so that's probably why. I mean, listen to the difference on that. Here's 2006. Here's 97. I keep fucking doing it. All right. Try that again. Here's 2006. Here's 97. I mean, if you were to tell me that those were two completely different speakers, I would believe you. You know, it's almost surprising that these are the same speaker. Well, it's the same type of speaker from different years anyway. But yeah, so there's the 97 there. And then the 94 from the Mesa cab. Those two definitely compete for the darkest, but I don't know how much of that I should attribute to the Mesa cab itself. So then here is the Chinese. We can basically forget about the Relic 30s. They're kind of not relevant to this in my opinion, but here they are. And then That's compared to the 2005 Chinese ones. And the 2001 Mesa ones. I'm actually kind of curious how those compare to the Relic 30s, because I know the V30 MF was compared to the Mesa V30, so. Yeah, I can see it. They're kind of similar. So those 2005s, they're not quite as bad as the 2006 in my opinion, but they do have that that definite like open sliciness to the upper mids, which I kind of go back and forth on whether or not I like it. I think it's context based for me, but there's that. And then here's the 2001 again. And then here's the 2001 and the 212. So again, the cabinet is not making that big of a difference with this, because if it were, you would really hear the difference between a 412 slant and a 212 straight. But again, here's the 212. Here's the 412. All right, so that pretty much sums it up. Let's just go down the list in chronological order real quick, and then I'm going to call it. So here's the 2006. That was 2006 Chinese 16 ohms. Here are the 2006 UK 16 ohms. Here are the 2005 Chinese 16 ohm. And then here's the 2001 Mesa 8 ohm. Same speaker in a 2x12. Then here's the 97 or 98, can't remember, in a 212. We're back to, these are 8 ohm as well. And then the 94 8 ohm Mesa Vintage 30s. The last one I would fucking do the double IR again. Alright, let's refresh our palettes here. Here's the 97. And here is the 94. So, in closing, if you want your V30s to sound darker, or if you don't want the obnoxious high end, get older vintage 30s. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of debate between Chinese and UK and this and that, and, you know, it all makes a little bit of a difference. It all adds up, in my opinion. But I think the biggest difference between them would be their production year. And I think Celestion just kind of has inconsistent materials or something. I think the way they source the materials that they make their cones out of or something is just a bit inconsistent. And I think that throughout the production years, they have, that's been evident through the sound. You know, I think it's mainly just the difference in the pulp they make the cones out of or whatever, man. But yeah, essentially, And yeah, maybe it has something to do with them being broken in, but I really don't think that has nearly as much to do with it as people make it out to be. I think that they just sound different from different years, from different production eras. And there you go. So, yeah, have at it. Find yourself some cool vintage 30s and shut up about it, I guess. Nah, just kidding. You're great. All right. Bye.